This is a psychic development reading for new awakening. Okay, so I have your picture here. I've already surrounded us in some protective space for this reading. And I have two crystals that I drew, two heart chakra stones for the reading that I pulled. So I have my zoisite and my fuchsite. So where do I start here? So zoisite has a lot to do with trusting yourself, trusting the guidance that you receive, and kind of putting yourself forward with acting on it, um, trusting the outcome, trusting that the outcome is going to be good. So really trusting your guidance, and trusting your intuitive nature, your higher self, and then and just trusting the information that you receive. And then actually this one has to do with information that you receive. It has to do with receiving guidance, receiving information, especially to heal someone, heal something. But it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can be mental, emotional, it can be a situation. So even like you're asking about finances, like it can be anything. It can be any type of financial situation, any kind of situation. So those really go together, which I didn't really think about when I just drew them. But they do actually really go hand in hand. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and surround you again with the zoisite, because this just helps me to begin sometimes and pick up on your guides and whatever information they want to give. There aren't really any blocks that they are pointing out so far. But one thing that was actually coming up when I surrounded you to receive the code name, there's this egg at the top of your head, an egg. And so that symbolizes something new. And that felt like it was in regards to this question 3, about getting out of the corporate industry and becoming financially independent of that. So it felt like part of the block there with that was that you do have some ideas that are forming about how would you leave the corporate world and what would you do on your own and things like that. So you sort of fantasize about it. It feels like nothing has really become that concrete yet, though, in your mind or really stabilized. So part of it actually just feels like a very simple thing of needing to generate more ideas, and not only ideas that are sort of up in the air, but where you more decide on something. And so it feels like you can't really act on something if you haven't really decided on something. If you don't really know where you want to go, then it's almost like your guides can't give you specifics. They can't give you details where it will just kind of come through you of knowing what to do, how to act, what to act on, for the reason that you almost kind of don't know what you want right now. And the other thing is, it feels like the thing that you would want is what really is going along with your mission. Like there's a feeling like you really have to, and this is often the case for many people, but you have to follow your bliss in order to really step onto your mission. And there was this feeling straight off, like it feels like if you've been in the corporate industry for so long, it's almost like it kind of changed your mindset a little bit. It's like part of you almost becomes like this kind of, um, not you, it's not what you're becoming. I want to phrase that differently. But it's like you can kind of almost have to sort of be like it's like you're in this robotic behavior or this almost drone like behavior, and that can kind of almost suck something out of you. It can be draining. In other words, it can be really draining to have this perpetual thing that you're doing all the time, um, where you feel like you could be almost living your life, right? Living like your dream life. And instead, you're doing this thing, this boring, like perpetual thing that you're caught up in with that you have to do all the time. And so, when we get kind of stuck in that mindset, your guides are saying that then you lose a little bit of knowing exactly what you would want or what your passion is, because it feels like you get caught up and kind of stuck in having to not really follow your passion and follow your bliss anymore. And so then there's almost this kind of confusion where it's a little bit chaotic or messy as to what that is. And so then it's like kind of confusing as to, you know, what your purpose is or what your mission in life is. But with you, it feels very much centered around what you would want, what you would enjoy doing, what you would be passionate about doing. Um, and then you would really be finding your mission. So it's more about finding yourself and finding what you enjoy and finding just what you would like to do. And at the same time, how you could make an income out of that. And your guides are saying that it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter what you like to do. Um, like, in other words, it doesn't matter how like crazy or something it might sound, you just need to implement it. I feel like from them, like, once you start allowing yourself to think of the ideas and think of the new possibilities, um, the way that it's going to manifest will start to process in your mind for you. You'll start to realize how it could become something that's actually real versus like a made up fantasy or fiction in your head. So this feels like the biggest block, where almost like where you don't really let yourself get serious about it. That's what it kind of feels like. Where it kind of feels like this made up thing, you really want it to be there. Um, and then it comes out in this confused way of you don't know what's possible or what you could be doing or what you should be following. But you can just pinpoint, okay, what are things that you would be passionate about? What do you like to do? Or even going back, what did you used to like to do when you had free time and you weren't working so much? What did you really love to do? And what would you still love to do now, though? So, what are things that have stuck with you, even if you only get to do them on occasion, or maybe you don't really get to do them at all anymore? What has stuck with you as something that you know that you would like, that could fuel you to move forward? Because it's really about putting your energy out and being in the right space. and the right place at the right time, and then we attract the people and the events and everything that sort of formulates our mission, and we end up helping people that we didn't even realize that we were going to help. Even if our passion is playing, foosball or something. um, even if that is what it is, at the same time, um, when we step into our energy, we don't know where that might lead us or what that might allow us to experience or bring to ourselves or to others. And so that's why it's really about being in your own energy, in your own real state, being your true self and being your highest self, okay, or your most passionate self. And your guides are saying your most absorbed self, but not in a negative way, where you have to get lost in something that you don't want to do, but where um, whatever you're doing, whatever material you're reading or that you're looking at or observing or that you are doing, whatever thing it is, um, does it absorb you? Are you absorbed in it? Are you lost in it? Do you have a good time with it? It could even be something like communicating with others. Um, it doesn't have to be super, super specific. So then you think, okay, how could I communicate with others more? Even with your current job, is there something that does actually pull you to it in an enjoyable way? Are there things that you do appreciate about it besides just your paycheck? Are there things that where you feel like your gifts are coming out and they are being operated or useful? Or do you feel like just none of that is there at all? But I don't know. I have a feeling like if you thought about it, there are some things where your gifts do come into play, and where you could see that even this benefits you in that way of stepping into your own energy. And so you can look at those specific aspects of your job and of you that are sort of allowed out. Okay, so let's see another question here. Okay, so now we would be going to question 2. Okay, so I've been feeling some guides around who weren't really revealing themselves, but I could feel them. But now I've got another guide coming up. There are so many times where during a reading, like I will pick up on something that I have never quite felt before, where I don't exactly know what it is, and usually something different from all the other times. Okay, so I'm gonna have to kind of zone in here a little bit. It's definitely a very peaceful energy and feels somehow extraterrestrial or like from space, almost like somehow from space itself. but it doesn't really feel like a specific race. This is going to sound weird, but it almost feels like a kind of blob in a way, like a this energy just feels like this kind of, I don't know, blob of energy or like ball of energy, but not like a ball of energy in the way that you hear that expression, like a ball of energy and they're excited or something or bouncing around. It feels like kind of like the feeling that you get from space, how peaceful, tranquil that is, looking out on the emptiness of space, but at the same time, there's definitely a very individual energy with it at the same time. It feels very peaceful, almost childlike in a way. And there's definitely this androgynous kind of quality with it, but at the same time, it does feel male in a way, but childlike at the same time. But definitely not something humanoid. Um, like not necessarily having eyes or something like that, but definitely having an energy that can very much communicate. Feels like something that kind of floats. Um, like here we have like regular here we have, I don't want to say regular, it's regular to us, but here we have bodies with like arms and legs and a head and a stomach. But imagine if we were almost like the atmosphere. We were like gases in the atmosphere. And our species had evolved in like an extremely different way. I don't know if I'm quite getting that exactly. There's something off about that. But it does almost feel kind of cloud-like or some okay. Okay, I don't think this is a physical this is not like a physical being, like a physical kind of form. Okay, they're saying that there are like physical forms like what I was describing, but he doesn't have that physical form really. So he's like in like another dimension where he's not really experiencing a like a regular moving kind of body, even if it were like a kind of atmospheric kind of made up of like gases or something like that. Even if he had evolved in a very different way, like I was saying, it doesn't feel like that. He feels like just an ethereal kind of being. So he feels extraterrestrial, but he definitely doesn't feel like something that has a. I don't feel like he has been in a physical form before, so I don't really feel like he has an association with a physical form. He feels extremely present and almost this sense of like his gaze is all seeing. This feels like a being that has like where we have vision only here. This feels like he just sees everything all around because he doesn't have eyes. He's not seeing something out of eyeballs like we are. So he doesn't have like a certain angle on life or on anything really, even when it comes to his form. So he's sort of like formless energy. He kind of, in a sense, does take on a form, but it's more just like this kind of circular, just energy. And I feel like he watches you do everything. Like he's showing me paperwork and he's watching you doing that. And then even with your family, he's watching you doing that. And he has like kind of different emotional reactions to it. But he feels more like pure thoughts, pure emotion, not attached to any kind of words. Or so his way of communicating is extremely simple, and it's definitely not confusing at all. I feel like that's the reason he is the one who's really introducing himself. I feel like it's because he so simplifies everything. He just feels like the simplifier. He just makes everything less complex. He takes like chaotic energies away. He diffuses stress and anxiety. And so when you call on him, it's just going to feel very peaceful, very tranquil. And I feel like he can help you pinpoint um, really what you would want to be doing, how you would want to be doing it, how you could be doing it. I feel like there's something to do with communication with others, though. I don't feel like that was only them giving an example. I do feel like you communicate with others really well, whether it's through email, um, like you're writing a letter or an email to someone, or you're standing up in front of others and you're giving a presentation or something, or even just you're sitting at lunch and you're just communicating with others. Um, so I feel like you're a friendly person, and I feel like pe- people can relate to you. And I feel like that quality is definitely something that you are going to bring um, to whatever it is that you enjoy. I feel like this is something that is essential. Um, Being able to communicate with others and be relatable to others, I feel like that's definitely a quality that's there that's going to assist you with whatever you end up doing, with whatever you end up doing as you progress. But I feel like part of the reason they've given you this code name New Awakening, I feel like you need to awaken to all the possibilities. And again, like this isn't a daydream or a fantasy in your head. um, this will be formulated, but you have to give it time. And they don't, what they mean by that is that you actually have to put effort into it or time into it, like where you really sit in a serious way. Maybe you've done it before, but still in this way with almost this feeling like, that'll never really happen, or I don't know how I would do that, and just kind of close the book, you know? Not like that, but in a serious way. And they don't even mean like with a serious emotion, I'm serious. You can be very joyful and very happy. They mean like in a determined way where you see that it's real, that it's going to occur, you're going to manifest it, and to really step into that flow of being able to know that this is something that you can have, that you can take seriously, even if you are joyful about it and you're not exactly feeling serious necessarily when you're thinking about it, or implementing it. Yeah, they're saying at the same time seriousness will come into play. You're going to be formulating things, and just thinking of what you could do. But at the same time, they're saying that that's really playtime. Thinking about whatever you would really want and formulating that on a piece of paper. So part of this with number two, I feel like it's also been knowing who your guides are, who are your guides, and then you can more easily connect with them. He's saying that you can almost think of him almost like a voice. Like if your guide were to just be a voice, almost like you hear like the voice of God or something like that in like a movie, right? You hear this voice and you know what to do, or you get a feeling of what to do, or even it tells you what to do, or it says something to you that triggers something, but it doesn't necessarily have some body. You're not looking at some person. It's just this voice, and it's very intelligible. It can hold a conversation with you, or you get this sense that it's kind of all seeing. Um, but at the same time, like it's very there and very present, and you can feel it and sense it, kind of in every way but your eyes. So it's like it is an individual that you can sense, but not really through a body and not by means of something physical, like physical eyes. And yeah, that's kind of true in a sense of all of your guides. You could say, except that most guides can relate to you being in a human form. Um, he relates by watching you. Um, I feel like that's part of the reason that he watches you so much, because I actually feel like he's learning to relate to physical forms and, in a sense, even any kind of form at all without really having one himself and kind of going through that process. Whereas most guides are like, I can relate to you because I've been there before. This guide isn't really like that. He's like, I'm watching you, I'm taking this in. That's really fascinating. But at the same time, he's not getting like excited about it. And he's not getting like nervous or anxious about it, because that's a lot of times what excitement is. But he has these kind of childlike kind of emotions. He sees things in a very pure way, but then he also almost feels like this kind of godlike figure, um, where you almost think of Moses or somebody like that at the same time. So you can think of like a very kind of ancient kind of figure, and at the same time, you can think of kind of a little child. And there's both energies very much there with this guide, this being. But again, I feel like the reason he's the one really coming up during the reason is to kind of set the confusion straight, um, help you narrow down what you would want and think about it in a serious way. What do you really want? And kind of zone in on that without thinking that that is impossible, or you shouldn't be allowing yourself to think of how you could do that, because it feels like then you're never going to get out of this. What's the point of not being in the corporate industry and you have your own business doing something that you are not into? So you have to just let yourself go there and let yourself relax and play, and you need to really set some time aside to communicate with your guide, but also with yourself. And normally I would say guides, and you definitely have more than one around you. Everybody has more than one. Everybody has more than one guide. I've never read somebody who only had one, even if one comes up and reveals who they are and is speaking. But this one I feel like is going to be the most helpful for you right now to really um, be able to zone in, because he's very good at that. He is extremely present. On the one hand, he kind of feels like a sense of all time in a sense, but at the same time, he mainly just feels like right now, and he's thinking about right now. And he doesn't have to think about any other time. He doesn't need to think about past or future. So don't think about what hasn't happened or what never worked out or what you gave up on, or what you're hopeful about, even. Um, think about right now and what do you want, and that you will manifest that, because it just feels like it isn't a hope. And I feel like that's something that you need to get. Like you need to kind of get out of hopeful, this hopefulness in a sense, in the way that they're meaning it. Like um, hope in the sense of something that you hope for or you wish for, but not really something formulated. And he's saying that it's a still picture that's already formulated. It's almost like you have to just give motion to it. You have to give life to it. So it's like it's a picture that's there and you have to kind of breathe onto it. And the only way to do that is to learn to let go and allow and play. I feel like he likes to watch you with your family. And he likes to feel when you have emotional highs. I feel like he'll be able to help you to pinpoint what brings you those emotional highs and what in the way of working with others, but in a way that isn't attached to the corporate industry, isn't attached to someone else and telling you what to do, or needing to have things done in a very particular way. Um, I feel like he can help you pinpoint what brings you a true, authentic high, a high emotion, not like the excitement that he was referring to before, um, where really it's anxiety. So really it's like a nervousness, a fear, but an actual authentic high where you actually truly feel peaceful, you feel blissful. Again, I feel like communication with others is part of it, but I feel like um, that's going to be that's just going to be involved in whatever you do. Um, so in other words, I don't feel like what you would be doing is going to be like a project or something where you sit there and you work on it at home. Like um like sometimes maybe I've read someone and it's come up like work with your hands, right? And you're going to be selling something that you make. And the person will say, "Oh yeah, I started making something with my hands." They're making something someone can wear or something like that, and they want to start selling it online, and their guides are confirming, "Yeah, that's a good idea. That'll work." It doesn't feel that way at all with you. It doesn't feel like I'm going to sit at home. It doesn't even really feel like a one-on-one thing. Like, I know how to play the piano, and one individual person at a time is going to come into my house, and I'm going to sit there and we're going to learn to play the piano. I'm going to teach them one on one, you know? Um, but it feels like communication is a part of it, but it feels like you're going to be working with, um, I don't know if it would be a team of people or it would just be like, um, multiple people where you're just constantly seeing people and interacting with different people. So I don't know if it's um, what I know is that it'll be multiple people that you are interacting with and you're communicating with. And it's definitely going to be involving that. So I don't feel like it's going to be something like one-on-one life coaching or something like that. um, where you're just speaking to one single person and you're helping them formulate ideas or work on issues. You know, it's not going to be something like counseling where you see one person or maybe a couple or something at a time. Even if you do sometimes see one person at a time or something, I just feel like it's going to be more fast paced where you're still seeing like multiple people and communicating with different people. Um, so, like for instance, if you were selling a product, you'd have to be talking to a lot of different people, and this one's going to buy it, and that one's going to buy it, and even helping get it organized, like uh, like shipments of the product, you know, where you're ordering it, and so it feels like you would have to still talk to various different people, not only to get the product, but then to have it where you are selling it. And it feels like even if it ended up eventually being online, as well, it feels like it would be a storefront. Now, this isn't saying you're going to sell a product. This is basically explaining it would feel like this versus this, okay? So, as just hypothetical, just a for instance here, you're selling a product. It would feel like you have some kind of storefront and people are coming in and they're buying it. They're buying it from you. And so you're talking to this person and this person and this person, and you're ordering stuff, and um, all these different people that you would need to talk with to get that going and to continue doing that. So it doesn't feel like you're going to be like shut off in your house or something. So even if you did sell it online, it feels like that would almost be later on. It feels like you'd have the storefront first and you would really get that going. And it feels like you'd be talking to people on email, and you'd be talking to them on phone, and you'd be talking to them right there in front of you, communicating with them. So it feels like communication is this central thing. It's not like people are buying communication, but communication at the same time is the core of it. That's what it feels like. So again, I'm not saying sell a product. Who knows, maybe you do sell a product, but this isn't to say sell this certain product, right? This is to get across a feeling of how this feels like. It feels like a lot of interaction. You might have a few people who are around you that you work with a lot. Um, I'm not sure, but or maybe not at first and later you do, because there is a feeling like that might be there. But one thing for sure that would be there is a lot of customer interaction, it feels like. So you're going to be around a lot of people with whatever you're going to be doing. So that's the kind of, like, without thinking product necessarily, but that's to kind of give you a hint or an idea of um, kind of what you're looking at, or just the energy that they are presenting. It feels like something fast paced. It feels like something people oriented. It feels like something that can grow. So it feels like something that can start off a little bit small, or kind of small, medium, and it can grow larger, and it can expand. And again, it just feels very people oriented, definitely, with a lot of communication at the center of it. So that could be a lot of different things, obviously. But that's the feel of it. And it feels like that could be something that you could create, that you could organize, that you would be good at, that you would be successful with. It even feels like this corporate world that you've been in, it feels like in some ways may have prepared you for what you're going to end up doing. But obviously, you're going to be doing it on your own, and you're going to really like doing it. You're going to enjoy it, and also you're going to have flexible hours. You're going to be able to have more time with your family and everything. Okay, so they want me to do some clearing, and that's so weird. I didn't think of that. So they're showing me this egg, and there's something kind of specific that they want me to do with the clearing. I'm supposed to visualize this egg, and I'm supposed to visualize that the energy is like cracking the egg. So it's like the egg is containing all these ideas and inspiration, that's kind of there in this extreme baby form, that hasn't even been birthed yet. So it's like this potential that's there. So they want me to crack the egg, is what they're saying to do. But what's really crazy is that I have always said that my zoocyte looks like a dinosaur egg. And I didn't even think about that. So even that, they're saying, just because I've always said it was like a dinosaur's egg specifically, they're saying even that is like, almost like old ideas or something that you've wanted for a really long time to be able to occur, and it hasn't happened yet, and it's kind of been sitting there in this sort of egg waiting station. Okay, so I'm going to do this strange visualization. Strange just because I haven't ever had a guide ask me to do a visualization like this ever. So a new visualization. And this egg looks white. It's weird because when I'm first cracking this egg, this black liquid, is coming out, almost like it's almost looks like the egg is almost like coughing it up, or maybe the bird inside is coughing it up. I'm not really sure. um, there's even a sound with it, almost like somebody is like choking or like coughing it up. So that tells me that this egg, or I guess you could even say this energy pocket, because it's starting to seem more like, um, an actual block that is actually there over your head, um, just because it's like actually there's something that is releasing. But anyway, this tells me that this pocket of energy, it doesn't only have good things or like potential or ideas of how you could formulate something or what might formulate, or this kind of fantasy in a sense, like your guides were saying, what you would want to happen. It also contains the what if it doesn't happen, and feeling almost like it can't coexist with you in a sense, in the reality that you have already been experiencing and perceiving. So it feels like that just kind of has to drain out of there first. This sort of lackluster. What is lackluster? I know what that is. Sometimes a guide will say something. I don't know what it is. Like, I know I've heard that expression before, but I never use that word. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna look that up. What does that mean? Like, is that like lethargic or something? Yeah, okay. Lacking in vitality, force, or conviction, uninspired, uninspiring, not uninspiring. Okay, but uninspired. So yeah, that is what it means. So it means a kind of lethargy in a sense. Lackluster. That feels like they're sending it almost like a name of this energy. So that tells me that there is like a thought form that is also there that needs to be released. But I feel like the only way to remove that thought form, which is sitting up here, I'm not sure if I want to say crown chakra. I feel like I want to say the chakra that's right up above the crown chakra. So you're looking at a block that's actually like at the eighth chakra there. But I feel like the only way to really get rid of this thought form is through implementing those ideas by doing what they were saying, sitting down in a serious way and writing down what is it that you would want, what is it that you see for yourself, and just any ideas that come to you. What could you see for yourself? And I feel like as you begin to look at that in a more sure way of even if you don't know how it will manifest, or even if you're not exactly sure what you would want yet, just um, allowing yourself to kind of play with it, but in a more serious way. Like, this can happen, I can do this. Um, then I feel like your guides will be able to kind of push through this energy and open you up more to receiving what their guidance would be and kind of receiving their downloads in a sense of even what you would want. I feel like um, obviously that comes from you, but I feel like it will come from them as well, just because of this kind of pattern that you've been in, where you kind of need to pinpoint what it is exactly that you would want to do. I feel like that's going to kind of come double. So I feel like it's there in you, but I kind of feel like at the same time, they're going to remind you of it and kind of spark that again and help to ignite like a passion again. And then you'll be able to take this and really go, it feels like. And then it's like you'll be able to throw away this kind of cycle, like what they were mentioning before, almost this like drone, like robotic kind of cycle where you're just doing these robotic um, shifts every day with your job, where you're working at certain times, and that's like your schedule, doing this for someone else. So they're saying that that can be kind of a drudgery just because you're not really living your life in a sense. It's almost like you're living for other people in that sense, because it's like you're making money for them in a way. Um, you're doing what they would want so that the person who owns this corporation has freedom and all these things. And for some people, that is what they would want. They would want that paycheck. And there are definitely some people, obviously, who would want that kind of job and who would be okay with that. They wouldn't really question that. Um, it wouldn't necessarily be their path to. And some people, obviously that could be their path to have a job like that. and they could enjoy a job like that. That's not impossible to enjoy, obviously, for the right person, for that kind of work. So there's somebody for everything. And every job has somebody that will fit. So you don't have to be unhappy there, but it's just that you don't really fit there. You're not really fulfilling this part of you that knows it's meant to fulfill something else. And so it's not passionate about what it's doing. So, in other words, you're not passionate about what you are doing. So, they're saying that that's the thing that you've kind of lost, but they don't really mean lost, like, you know, like lost kind of implies you have, like, you can't exactly get it back, but in a sense, you do have to kind of find it again. So I feel like that's part of why they're using that word. Um, so it's not like lost forever. It's just something that you have to kind of rediscover and rekindle and step back into allowing yourself to process. So you've been kind of in this mode of, they're calling it like the drone mode, and they're not referring to it like you. They don't mean like you're a drone or you're in drone mode, but it's like you've had to kind of step into this system which is like a drone and kind of wants most people to be like a drone. So not you as a person, but they're referring to a system that behaves in that way. Like kind of the systematic drone in a sense, or like the robotic system. I keep feeling a female energy here, but that's all she's really coming across with. I know there are two other guides here. I know that one of them is female. Um, and I do feel like she'll help you once this male kind of at the same time androgynous guide, the voice or whatever you want to call him, that's kind of what he was saying to think of him as. So I was using that. But so once this male being kind of helps you focus on centering into, this is what I want, pinpointing certain things about the direction where you would want to go, I feel like then this female guide is going to step in and also help you with one, healing certain aspects of yourself, um, and almost it feels like even like childhood kind of aspects that you um again lost, but in the sense of not lost, but needing to allow more, play more, get in touch with more. Once you get in touch with those areas, I feel like she's the one who's going to be helping you do that, to get in touch with those areas more. And I feel like she's also going to be helping you with kind of the creative aspect of it. And again, kind of getting more absorbed in it, kind of lost in it, or zoned into a specific direction once you know more what that is. So I feel like she's going to help you with the emotional aspect of it, of healing, and processing that you are capable of doing this, while at the same time kind of helping you kind of with creative kind of feedback. So there's that word coming in, like feedback, almost like almost like you're kind of going to bounce off one another. You're not necessarily going to be understanding this. It'll probably feel like most of it is coming from you. Um, or even if you were to talk to someone else about it, like a close family member or something, and you were kind of speaking about it, I feel like she would be involved and she would be sending energies to both of you. And this feels kind of like a wife, I would say, that kind of energy. Not her, but but it feels like kind of like a spouse that you're kind of bouncing off with back and forth and getting like more ideas like generated and flowing, it feels like. Okay, so that is the end of this reading. So, thank you very much for allowing me to do this reading for you. And I truly hope that it benefits you. Thank you very much. Namaste.